Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Universal Dialect Show. This is show number 27. I have on a great guest, friend of mine from way back. He's a DJ. He's half of the vinyl show called Above the Clouds Radio, which premieres every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can catch that at www.abovethecloudsradio.com. Want to introduce KEMS. What's up, my dude?
Peace, bro. What's up, man? How you doing?
Chilling, brother. Did I get everything right?
Yeah, yeah. You left out. You left out all the stuff that needed to be left out, so we're good.
You sure? What was that? What was that? What would I have said that should have been left out?
Oh, just like general clown things like that.
I got you. I got you. The important stuff I left out.
Yeah. The incriminating shit.
Incriminating. Exactly, man. So let's jump into this, dude. Like I've known you for such a long time. Like you were my first best friend when I got here to Florida in 1989. And I remember, okay, so I lived on Amblewood. This is in Kissimmee. I lived on Amblewood. And I think you lived across the street from Emerald Green.
I lived in Emerald Green.
Oh, you lived in Emerald Green.
Yeah,
Apartments, right?
yeah.
You remember the apartments across from Emerald Green?
Dorado.
Yes, Dorado. Damn, you got a good memory. Yeah,
Not
yeah, yeah,
really.
yeah.
Not really. You know what it is? It's like old guy memory where you remember everything from when you were young, but now I fucking can't remember anything anymore, bro.
Dude, I'm with you, man. I just did an
Yeah.
interview an hour ago with another, artist, and I'm trying to recall names that I used to talk easily. Names used to come out. Now I couldn't recall shit. I had to like be like, fuck, man. But anyway, yeah. So I knew you back then, and you used to hang out with a dude that was on my block. Do you remember who that was?
Bobby.
Yeah,
My man Bobby Randall, man. Rest in
yeah.
peace.
Rest in peace. What happened with him?
Honestly, I'm not sure, man. I lost contact with Bobby. So I knew Bobby through my homeboy BJ. He was one of my best friends when I was a kid, and that was his cousin, his younger cousin. But we were all, when you're young, age isn't as big of a deal, I guess.
Right.
And so yeah, we would stay at Bobby's place sometimes, and yeah, he lived right across the street from you. So interestingly enough, Bobby, I mean, you lose contact. Like, I left Kissimmee when I was like 17, 18. Um, but he ended up having like a hip hop career. He,
Really?
yeah, I know he had like some stuff that got played on like, like mainstream radio or whatever. He was making, I don't even know. I can't say that I peeped his music or whatever, but
Right.
I know he had like a regional hit, and he was like he would get played on like 102 jams and shit like that.
What was he under?
Bro, I'm the worst, man. I honestly don't know. I just always called him Bobby, you know what I mean?
Got to, yeah.
And
Yeah.
but Bobby always had health issues, and I think he had like there was like some kind of complication, and I think he was living in California, or at least spending a lot of time in California doing, recording show business stuff. And unfortunately, like, was in and out of hospitals pretty frequently at one point. And then next thing I know, you just through social media or people
Right.
text you or whatever, you find out that he passed away. Like, I had reconnected with him through Facebook, I think, when I was still on there. This was years ago, and talked to him for a little bit, and it was good to catch up. It was my boy. But yeah, he ended up passing away.
Damn, that sucks, bro. I
Yeah,
wonder
dude.
if I heard his stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
crazy.
it certainly wasn't like in the pantheon of things that we're into.
Right,
I think it was more like commercial
right.
stuff. But yeah, I think he was doing his thing for a little while, which is dope.
Yeah, I didn't even know that, man. That's crazy. Dude from Kissimmee winds up doing some serious shit, like
Yeah, for sure.
better than what we did, like when we tried our shit. But
Totally.
um, so get into the origin story of I'm not gonna say your real name, but Kems, like where you were born, raised. Because I know I met you in Kissimmee, but I don't think you were born and raised in Kissimmee, right?
Nah, so I was born in Mexico City, in Mexico, but came very young to Central Florida. I had it was my mom and my sister and I. We came up, had a had a dad who was, just not a savory guy, was physically abusive with my mom and had substance abuse issues and stuff. And my mom tried to like get away at one point, but like even staying in the country was not enough because my father, his family was pretty well to do from what I understand, and was always able to track us down whenever my mom would try to get away or whatever. So eventually, like we had to like leave the country.
And do
So
you know
yeah,
like why Florida of all places? Like,
so um, my mom my mom worked in the airline industry. She was a flight attendant, I guess what they would call stewardess back then, but now they're flight
yep,
attendants. And and she had a friend through that line of work who was also a flight attendant, that lived in St. Cloud, which is, for those that don't know, just south of Kissimmee in Central Florida, like Disney World area.
right.
And so we came, and my mom, my sister, and I stayed with them in their living room. I remember like, being like 4 years old or whatever, and uh like at least a couple months we were on their floor in their living room, just like in sleeping bags or whatever, until my mom got a job as a housekeeper in a motel. And then when she was able to save up enough money, we got our own apartment.
And
But yeah,
what year
I,
what year
I
was
think that
this?
was the reason. So I want to say maybe like 83. No, man, maybe even younger, dude. 81.
Right. So you were in Central Florida in 81.
Yeah. Yeah, we came early, dude. Yeah, I was born in 77. So yeah, I mean if I was like 3 or 4 years old, it had to be
Right.
like 80, 81.
And so what was it like, dude? Because when I got to okay, so to me, coming from New York City,
Yeah.
Kissimmee in '89, bro, was like a culture shock to me. I'm in the woods, hillbillies and shit. I can imagine like what was that like for you, man?
So I would imagine probably it was a bigger shock for you, dude. It's a lot more difficult because you were probably old enough to remember all these things, right? Like you weren't 4 years old.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Right.
I know when I met you, we were older,
Right.
but I would imagine there was some culture shock. Obviously, English not being my first language, coming from Mexico. But again, I was still so young too that I hadn't like, I didn't, have like a group of friends and had to leave them and, all that kind of stuff, like I think just being caught up in the necessity of having to leave and everything was what it was, you know what I mean? And what I recall more than like necessarily culture shock was um going from a life where we had things, like, we had a house, like I said, my father's family was well to do. Um and then coming here and having absolutely nothing and being super poor. And I think that's really what weighed on me as being a kid when we first came to the country, was that more so than cultural things. I just wasn't old enough to be aware of that kind of stuff. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right. I think the reason, other than of course music, that you and I connected, and it's me, you, and my brother, right? Because my brother
Yeah.
was a part of it.
Shout out E.
I think is because you grew up with a single mother and I grew up with a single mother and we were both fucking poor, both families. You know, your mom was
Totally.
struggling,
Yeah.
hustling to do, and my mom was hustling to do her shit. So I think that's really why you and I connected, other than
Well,
the music.
yo, and the other thing I remember too is like music for sure. Like that was our primary like bonding point. But I also remember being young and being like hella into music, and I've always been nerdy about music and fucking snobby about music, and and not that I didn't have friends that didn't like all the same kind of music I did, but I specifically remember at a young age being like, yo, like most dudes that are super into music, or at least the ones that I was meeting, like they weren't into sports, and I was super into sports too. And then you played baseball, we played, everybody played basketball in the neighborhood, and so football, whatever, right? And so
Right,
like when I came across some people that were like super into music and really into sports too, like I was like, all right, this is dope.
right, right. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell a story later about how we kind of like disconnected, but then I connected with you later and you were a completely different person. But we'll get into that
All
later.
right, cool, cool, cool. Yeah.
And you'll probably remember what I'm talking about. But anyway, so you're into the hip hop culture, obviously. But what got you into hip hop, right? Like how did you get introduced to it? And what about it did you love, that got you like really into it?
So I guess the way that I got into it was my uncle. You remember my uncle Alex?
I love your Uncle Alex is fucking awesome. I loved your Uncle Alex,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, yeah. And him and I are, he's my uncle, but we're only 5.5, 6 years apart, right? So he's essentially my older brother, right? And
Right.
so, and then we shared a room a lot of the time. He eventually came from Mexico as well, and lived with us off and on. So and since he was older, like he was running with older kids, and he was into hip hop, he was into house. He had a crew of friends that he would run around with, and they were, at the time I thought they were, oh god, these guys are DJs. And later on they were kind of just DJing because that was a way to get in and meet chicks and do what they did. Um but really that's the way I got into it, dude. And like, I just remember like being young, going to the record stores with my uncle, picking tape, like I remember him picking up like, Run DMC's Raising Hell, or LL's Bad, or Fat Boy's Crushin', Houdini, Back in Black. Um, like I remember those four tapes specifically for sure. And then just coming home rocking them shits. Videos were still a thing when we were kids. And I'm sure we'll get into all that. But um, so it seemed very, like for a kid where my mom worked like crazy. I really, until I got a little older, I wasn't necessarily allowed out unless my mom was home. So I spent a lot of time at the crib watching TV, listening to music, memorizing songs. So it was kind of like my escape. And then because I played sports as a kid, playing ball and stuff, and being like the only Mexican guy on the basketball team, on everybody, with a bunch of other black kids on the basketball team,
Right.
they're all into rap. They're playing their shit. I'm playing my shit. And so you start to learn about what things people are into.
Right.
It's at least what I remember when we were young, dude. Like hip hop was everywhere. It was like it was immersive. Like it wasn't something really that you had to like look out to find. Like it was there. It was in your face. It was part of what was going on. And I just like immediately fell in love with it. Like my uncle and had some Jamaican homeboys, and they had a breakdance crew, and so like
Yeah.
b-boying was always around me. They were DJs, so that was always around me. Like it was always there. It was always there for me.
Right. Right. The thing that I remember about you too, like you talking about how you weren't allowed to go out, you know what I mean? You didn't break rules. You were very structured.
Hell no, I
And
was scared of shit of my mom, dude.
well, that's being structured, bro. You don't want the chancla thrown at you and shit. You don't want to get
Yeah,
fucking your ass whooped. But
right.
what I also noticed too, like for your age, you were like extremely mature for your age. So when I would hang out with you, I wasn't hanging out with like a little like a younger person's. Like you were kind of like on my level. You know what I mean? That's how I felt. Like, oh,
Word.
he's my homie. He's on my level. You know what I mean? So I just remember that. I remember you being very structured, and because you didn't want to get your ass whooped, and being very mature.
It's like because we were poor, and like you said, we were from single parent households. Like in essence, my mom ruled the house through fear, dude, and like and by being strict. You know what I mean? And I tell kids like a lot of the shit that my mom used to do, and like I don't know, like probably nowadays that shit is like borderline child abuse, but like
Yeah,
she didn't have a fucking choice. Like if you weren't scared to break the rules, there was nobody there to tell you, yo, you're breaking a rule. Like you if I didn't have that fear in me,
right,
so my mom had no choice but to run a strict household. You know what I mean? And the expectations of me, because I was deemed a smart kid from a young age, was that I had to do extra well in school, or like everything else is off the table. So like most kids, they come home with A's, B's, C's on their report card. Shit is swell. Like for me, If I didn't have straight A's, I don't go out till the next report card.
Right. I remember that, dude.
I'm grounded
Dude,
for 9 months
right. I
or nine
remember,
weeks.
dude, like
Sorry, nine
doing
weeks.
trigonometry, homie. Like I'm fucking like about to graduate high school. You're still probably like just starting high school and you're doing trig like nothing, bro. But because you know that you don't do that shit, you're gonna get your ass whooped, man.
So, I mean, it sucked. You would look at it when you're a kid, it's like, damn, this shit sucks. Like everything is so strict. But like looking back at it now, like I still did my fair share of like knuckleheaded things as a kid, but I knew well enough when to stop, dude. Like
Right.
whereas a lot of my friends didn't have those boundaries and ended up in worse places because of it, and
Right.
not to their fault. They just didn't have the guidance that my mom gave us, and so
Right.
now that I'm older, I'm super thankful for it. But at the time, it was like shit. Like nobody else has to deal with all this.
Not only that, man, I mean, you and I, we're people of color too, right? So and your mom knew the pitfalls that were out there, the stuff that you can get into that can take you down the wrong path. And I think that you may not have known it, but she was trying to protect you from going down those paths.
Oh yeah,
That
absolutely. I
you
mean,
know,
it's not like I didn't live in the mega hood, but I also
right,
didn't live in the nicest place either. So it was there. It was in our neighborhood. You know what I
right.
mean?
There
Like,
was shit going down, yeah, all the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Crazy shit going down. Um, so before we get into like when you and I and my brother and Clark, and then later on Dewey, we formed this group. Like, when did you start like rapping, and when did you start thinking like, oh, let me possibly become an artist? Let me try it.
I mean, it's funny, dude. Like, because yours and my relationship, it was at the time when, like, damn, we're gonna rap, yo. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. I think of it now, and I'm just like, yeah, I guess everybody has their rap phase. You know what I mean? But I think it was probably all around the same time we all did. You know what I mean? Like, I just was like, yo, I could give this shit a whirl. You know what I mean? And sat in my room and started writing the best raps I could, and you know there was always somebody rapping somewhere. It wasn't hard to find a place where you could go and kick a verse or whatever.
Right, test
And
your
then we
shit.
yeah, and then we had our group of friends, and everybody kind of got into it simultaneously, so it was pretty much just like, yo, what's up, you gonna do this or not? And then everybody started doing it. I can't tell you what year that was. I'm terrible at that kind of shit, but I mean, I'd have been like middle school, I'm guessing, dude.
Yeah, it was like okay, so we met in '89.
Yeah, so I was definitely I was in middle school in '89, like
We
starting.
weren't we didn't start rhyming until you moved to Reef Club.
Okay.
So do you remember when around that time when the time you moved to Reef Club, the apartment complex? Because you moved
Oh,
to Reef Club and then I lived in a spot called Heron Lake, which was not too far from Osceola Mall. So I used to walk with my brother to your house to watch
yeah.
Rap City
Yeah, 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 yeah.
with Clark. We used to meet Clark because Clark lived not too far from you either.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean that was probably like eighth or ninth grade, like 91, 92. I would assume.
Yeah. Yeah,
So that's
yeah, yeah.
wild, dude.
Yeah. So then we formed like this group called Verbal Mechanics. And then we were just rhyming, right? We
That
weren't
shit is a
performing.
super 90s rap name, by the way. Let's just get that out of the
Oh,
way.
without a doubt. That's like deep typical
Ah!
typical nerdy fucking
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's great.
and we didn't spell it like we spelled it ebonically, with the
Oh, of course,
mechanics.
of
I
course.
think it's what MEKNIKS. So verbal was regular, and then mechanics was MEKANIKS. So
Okay. Word.
I don't know if you remember, but
I remember the name. I don't remember the spelling though. But yeah, yeah, for sure I remember the name.
so then we met, right, and then we would just rap amongst ourselves. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was this thing going on at the Lions Club. Do you remember that?
No. But
Okay.
you could be
Do you know
right.
what the Lions Club is?
Yeah,
Do you remember?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, there was like a party, and then they had
Uh-huh.
like DJ there, and I think Dewey was there,
Okay.
and then somebody brought a mic and plugged it in, and then people started just rhyming, and then me, you, my brother, and Clark, we got up and we started rhyming.
Wow.
And I
That's what's
think
up.
that's how we met Dewey.
Okay.
And then Dewey said, "Hey, I make beats because remember we were supposed to link up with so many people that had supposed equipment, and it never
Yeah.
worked out. They never
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
anything,
Yeah, yeah. There's always that. Everybody got a cousin that does something.
Yeah, man. And
Yeah,
we never had anything. But Dewey was actually a legit person that made beats.
yeah, because he came from up north as well, right? And so he had, yeah, he was on it. He was like ahead of it.
Yeah, his okay. So how it goes is his dad was a radio personality in New York,
Okay.
and I think his Madman Marty. I think that's what his radio name was. So
Word.
he was kind of like an alternative radio personality, very similar to Howard Stern, but he wasn't like a shock jock.
Right.
He was just alternative, and I think he was on the same radio station that Howard Stern was on because they had like this radio station in New York where they would put alternative people on, because you had your sports stations, sports radio stations, you had your WBLS and that played music, then you had like the news stations, and then you had like these alternative stations where you had like they play Caribbean music that they weren't playing on the radio, shit like that. And then so his dad was like this radio personality that played music and would talk. It was like a talk personality. And so that's how he got into like the industry, so to speak. And then he passed a lot of that stuff on to Dewey, and Dewey learned about equipment and all that. So that's how that all started with him.
That's dope. That's dope.
And then they moved to the Virgin Islands. He formed a group with Drex. Do you remember Drex?
I
Dewey's
remember
boy?
the name. I remember the
Yeah,
name.
West Indian. I think he's originally West Indian. Then he moved to the St. Thomas, but they formed a group, did some demos of music, and then that's how he got the bug essentially. And then moved to Florida, and he tried to push shit, and it never stuck because he was alternative like us. We all weren't rhyming about popping bottles and girls and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. He was super creative guy. Yeah,
Yeah, very very creative. And then we did a demo. Do you remember the demo?
I do.
Do you have a copy of it by any chance?
No,
Dude, I cannot get a copy of that.
that's hilarious.
He has it, but he says that he can't find it, or it's lost somewhere. I would love a copy of that shit, man.
Yeah, nah, man. Unfortunately, no. I don't know. Maybe it's better. It's for the better.
Maybe it is for the better. But there's a rumor, and I don't know if you heard the rumor. Okay, so I'm gonna make another connection. Remember DJ Celsius?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we did this demo. Do you remember the process? I don't know. I'm trying to test your memory. See if you
No,
know.
dude, no, no. I honestly don't.
You remember where we recorded the demo at?
No.
In your room, dude.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we did it on a 4-track because Dewey had a 4-track,
Okay.
and I think it was he had it hooked up to like a cassette, some shit, and then he made the beat. Do you remember the name of the song?
No. You're making me feel terrible, dude.
It's all right, dude. It's all right, man. It's so long ago. The only reason is because I've been looking for it. It was called The Challenge.
Okay. Wow. Did not remember that. That's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah. Do you remember kind of how it started? The beat? No, you probably
No.
don't. It had
No, dude.
like war drums, like African like war drums to start it off, and then had like whatever the rest of the beat. But we recorded it in your room, and we did that. We did the demo, and then Celsius said he had a connection in New York where he can like make like 2 or 3 copies, and he can drop it off. And the rumor is that it got played on one of the radio stations in New York.
That's wild. Really?
Yeah, and then this is the rumor that it got mixed reviews. So we got some
Uh-huh.
good reviews, and we got some people that were like, "What the fuck what are they rhyming about?" So to speak,
Right. Right.
right? So that's the deal, right? That's the demo, man. But
That's dope.
so we did that, right? We did the demo. We never did anything after that, and I think it wasn't the right time, dude. I think because you were about to graduate high school, if I'm not mistaken, and you already had plans to do things. I was the oldest out of everybody,
Right.
and
Right.
I was about to start a family soon. Like it was around the corner for me to start a family, and then we just didn't do anything after that. But so what happened after that demo till like you moving to South Florida? Like, can you go through the chronological order of what
Yeah,
went down? Because
yeah,
I don't
sure.
know.
So I definitely stayed active rapping. Was rapping. Graduated high school in '95, right? So I
Talent
guess.
show, right? Weren't you in the talent show too with a friend?
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's true. So I got with I formed another like local rap crew. Me and my boy Ree, who's still in Kissimmee. I see him every once in a while if I go back there. But he got like shout out my homie Ree. He got
No
like
doubt.
900. He got like 900 kids.
It's all right. I probably know one of them.
and uh and so we did like the talent show at the
What
school.
was the name of the group?
Oh, fuck, dude.
I'm sorry, man. I got to get these details if you can remember. Was it the prophetic two dudes from Kissimmee or some
No,
shit?
no, 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 definitely nothing like that. I think man, I don't know. I know at one point in time we used to joke around and call ourselves armed and dangerous. Maybe that was it. I really don't remember. I had a poster of David Robinson in my room, and that shit said armed and
Yeah,
dangerous. And
yeah,
unoriginal asses were like, yeah, that's our rap group name.
yeah.
But I don't know if that's what stuck. But yeah, yeah. So we would do shows. I remember just like going around battling, go to ciphers and shit. I ended up graduating high school. Um, I stayed in Central Florida and went to community college just because couldn't afford. I had gotten accepted to like really really good schools, but I couldn't get full scholarships, and so I decided to stay. Went to Valencia, which is a community college in Orlando. Um, and while I was there, I met a homeboy of mine, Randy from Pine Hills, because I was going up to like one of the Orlando campuses. So there's a lot of cats from Pine Hills up there. Him and I started put a little group together. We were rhyming. We would go all over, bro. Like we would go to all the shows in Pine Hills, all the spots, battling fools. Um, but I think more than anything, when I look back, dude, like I was doing the school thing. I was also just a knucklehead, experimenting with drugs and smoking tons of weed and doing all kinds of other stupid shit I probably shouldn't have been doing, but such is life. And so I never like put my best foot forward towards it. And I eventually, uh, you know, it was tough to like stay on an academic track while being, while still living at home. And all of my homies are, out in the streets, you know, doing what they did. Right. Um, so it was difficult trying to juggle those two things. Right. So I eventually just made the decision to, I had some friends that went to the University of Florida up in Gainesville. I had gotten accepted there, and I knew I could get in there. It's a good engineering school, and I always wanted to be a civil engineer anyway. So I left Kissimmee. I went and lived with my boys. Uh, we and I lived there from probably '97 or '8 until I graduated there in 2001. When I was up there, I was still writing rhymes, but honestly was getting more into the music. I got an MPC 2000 back then. I started getting super into music, find, oh, where'd this sample come from? Where'd that sample come
Right.
from? Getting into records, started buying records. So I would still write raps, but I really wasn't as passionate about trying to record anything or do that stuff. I definitely got way more into DJing. I spent all my loot while I was in college on weed and records. And just practicing DJing all the time, DJing little house parties here and there. And that was really like, it was a lot easier to do that because you can kind of do DJing in a in a on your own, for lack of a better term.
Right. You could build your own brand or just be your own
Or do
person.
whatever, and you meet cats, and you guys get little gigs here and there, and whatever. I mean, it's not like Gainesville, Florida is the hotbed for underground hip hop or anything, but they had great record stores actually. was able to get a lot of good records that I still have to this day, and just like become a better DJ. Like just practice scratch and watch DJ battle tapes. Try to come up with new techniques. I was super into that back then, and at the same time was still juggling full course load and going for a degree in civil engineering. And then summers I would come home, but I really wasn't out there like that when I would come home. I would stay with my mom, and I had a summer internship. I was doing engineering during the summers. Um, and yeah, that's basically what I was doing till 2001. I graduated from University of Florida in 2001 and then started interviewing, during my senior year in college, like, where do I want to go
Right.
type of thing. And, at the time, like University of Florida it's a pretty prestigious school for civil engineering. When I was there, it was like top 10 in the country for civil engineering programs. So lots of companies, it was easy to like interview with anybody you wanted to. And you could, if you wanted to get a job in California or Chicago or wherever, like it was easy. You could make those connections. And that's initially what I thought I wanted to do. So like I was interviewing for jobs like in Chicago and here and there, and then I ended up
Oh,
just
really?
deciding,
So you had opportunities to get the hell out of Florida.
yeah, totally, totally.
Wow, interesting.
And then I was like, look, my mom is still in Central Florida, and while I'm certainly not Mr. Family, my mom and I have always been super close, and I didn't want to move halfway across the country where it would be difficult to see my mom. So I ended up having the thought like, yo, South Florida would be, you know, a good compromise. Miami's there.
Right.
It's not far from Central Florida. I can come and see my mom. Um, so that's what I ended up deciding on. I took a job with like a private consulting firm. Excuse me,
No, you good.
and yeah, and moved to Fort Lauderdale in May of 2001.
Wow.
And I've been here ever since, dude. Yeah, I mean, moving around to different cities in Central
Right.
Florida. And I've never lived in Miami. I'm more like the idea of uh, having access to the city, but
Right.
but not living in the city.
Right. You don't have to have the fun in by living in the city. You can just
Yeah,
be on the
I don't need
outskirts.
to live in I don't need to live in a high rise in downtown Miami. You know what I
I
mean?
got you.
That's for me is too much. Like I'm still from Kissimmee. Like
Right.
it's just too hectic for me.
Right. You still got suburbia in your blood, right?
Yeah, for sure. So like so yeah, so just ended up getting a little apartment by myself and came down here not knowing anybody, and kind of started a brand new life.
I got you, brother. So between that time, right, from when we did the demo all the way up to 2001, where you moved to South Florida, um, to me, like they talk about this golden age of hip hop. You know how it was when you and I and Clark and my brother would get together and we go to your house, and every fucking day, like Rap City and UMT Raps play like new videos with MCs that would and artists that would bring new like new styles and new shit to the table. Like what was that like watching and being a part of that throughout all those years up until 2001? Because I think like after 2002 or three, that's when things really started to change. But we'll get into that. But talk about like the excitement of all this new shit that's constantly coming out.
So I mean, I'm super super grateful to have come up when we did, dude. Like um yeah, dog, like the beauty of that time was that, like you said, like there wasn't like this homogeneity that there is now in hip hop, and I don't think it's necessarily hip hop's fault. It's just there's so much money in it now that, like, when things become that profitable, then things become more homogenous, because once they find something that makes a shitload of money, they just keep running back to the well until people get tired of it. And like that goes with anything. That goes with the fucking dummies who can't stop watching comic book movies. Like, you guys are like, this is the same movie every time. You know what I mean? But I'm super thankful because, like, not, I think us and our little, crew of friends that we had as kids, we were naturally, or just, we were open-minded kids on our own. And then having, this is pre-internet, you have to remember. So like you turn on the TV and there's a DJ Quick video, and then that's followed by a Poor Righteous Teachers video, and then that's followed by, a Queen Latifah video, or like, what it was, all the styles were still like, nothing had necessarily taken over, and there was still, like, I think, even from like a record industry standpoint, there was still like uncertainty as to what was going to be the thing. And so they were fucking willing to put money behind so much different shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, the fact that, like, things like Freestyle Fellowship videos would get run when, back then, is like an amazing thing to me.
Yeah.
That would never happen. I mean, that shit is so left field and so, like, avant-garde from a hip hop standpoint. But like, that shit was in regular rotation. I'm super thankful for that, because that made me open to everything. So by the time I got to like learning about where samples come from, or exploring out into different genres of music, like, I was open to everything, dog. Like, I didn't want to like close my mind to anything until at least I tried it.
Right.
That's not to say that I was a fan of everything that got played back then too. Like, old heads love to talk about how great shit was back then. There was so much whack shit when we were around too.
Right.
Just like there is now.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's always trash shit,
Right.
or just things that don't speak to you, but I think now you have to dig for it a little more, whereas before it was just there, dude. Like, MTV played it, BET
Right.
played it. Like, it wasn't hard to find, and so that was a great time, dude.
I remember because you used to record them. So did I.
I still have the VHS tapes, bro.
I don't think you have all of them, because there's one
Oh.
video. There's one video that I asked you for that I know you recorded, and you say you don't have it. So I know you don't.
Oh, so yeah, I probably don't have all, but I know I have like 6 or 7 tapes full
Dude,
of rap videos.
there was this video. I don't know if you remember it. It was by a group called the Future Sound, and they had a song called the Bop Step.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was the remix version, not the one that's on the album. It was a remix version.
I have the single, yeah.
Bro, that video,
like a promo only thing. And that shit was like that was Dame Dash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bro, that video, when I went to your house, you were like, yo, you need to sit down. Like, you told me and Elliot and Clark, you guys need to sit down and just recorded this fucking video. Because that's what it was always about. It was always about, because I think your MTV Raps was at night. BET was usually after school when we went.
Yeah,
like,
it was
around
4 to 6.
They're 4 to 6. Yeah. So I was recording and you were recording. I got the recording idea from you. You set it off, and I was like, okay, I got to start recording. Right. I don't know if you remember Bowflex.
Yeah.
Okay, you know how they used to like send out free VHS samples?
You would dub over them shits?
Oh, I used to order them, bro. A bunch of them, put the tape on it, and those are my things. But anyway, so you and I would compete essentially to find the obscure video and shit. Like,
for sure.
You always, but it was always you. You always had the ill ones. You had Freestyle Fellowship first. You had YZ, one of the YZ videos. You had like all this obscure shit. You had Adolf the Assassin. Right. The first video that they played of his shit. So I come to your house and I sit and you're like, yo, I just got this fucking the illest video, man. You guys got to sit down. It was the Bob Step, bro. And it starts off with this ill fucking bass line. And I think they're like in a fucking junkyard and shit.
Yeah, I don't remember the video explicitly, but I mean, I certainly still remember the song.
Bro.
Wow, brothers break north with the Bob Step.
Yeah, man. But I mean, the remix version is really dope. It's better than the original from the album. And I've always been looking for that video, bro, and I thought YouTube would have it. Nobody has that video.
That's funny, man, because usually you can find that stuff nowadays. But there's still a few things out there you can't get.
You should convert those tapes into like DVDs, man, and do something.
So at one point, oh god damn, why am I'm so bad with names? I know his name's Juan. Barris Tower.
Yeah.
So I gave him all my tapes, and he digitized them because he was running around the country DJing videos.
Right,
And
right.
before he started getting like, I know that he got like way into it, and then started like getting like really high quality versions of stuff. But I know he used my stuff like a lot when he first
Yeah,
started doing that because I gave him a ton of stuff, and he digitized the tapes and then was using them like VJ.
right. Yeah, he was
The
doing that the Tatami thing, that Sasaki Lounge.
Yeah, and I know that like he I think he went on tour with that Soliloquist of Sound group, and they
Yeah,
did like some dates around the country, and he was doing the video thing on that.
yeah.
It's
That's
cool.
dope, man. He gave me actual DVD of a bunch of videos, and like you said, he started with just getting stuff from people like us to contacting, like, I think Ralph McDaniels, and
Mm,
maybe even getting stuff from Ralph McDaniels if I'm not mistaken.
that's dope.
But yeah, man. I mean, you were constantly like on that forefront of finding this obscure shit, and I mean,
I
it
think
fed
that
into
I've always had that dude. Like, not sorry for cutting you off, but
no, no, go.
like I talked to my wife about it. Like, now it's records, but like when I was a kid, it was I've always had a collecting thing.
Right.
And
It
then
was
once you get it,
sports
and then
cards.
sports cards I
Yeah.
had. You remember that shit?
Yeah,
And
because
then
you had a Troy Aikman fucking rookie card.
then it was like then it was then it was rap tapes, and then it was hip hop videos, and too bad it wasn't like stocks.
I know, man. That's what we fell short, bro.
Collecting that no one cares about,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've just always been into that, man. So like once I started the rap video thing, like I got super into it, dude. Like I would not only would I record videos, I would record like like if I knew that like so and so was gonna be on performing on a TV show, like you remember like at the end of In Living Color, they would have
Right.
people perform at the end. I would record all them
Yep.
shits, or
I remember that.
like video LP on BET. They would have people performing on there. I would get those shits, or like the late night shows. Like I would record all that stuff, or like MTV would do Spring Break, and they'd have people perform during Spring
Right. Like
Break.
leaders of the new school and shit.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. I record all that shit, and
Right.
like yeah, it was kind of obsessive.
So you were essentially a connoisseur without knowing it. You were like an archivist essentially.
Yeah,
Like a hip
just
hop
like once I get into
archivist.
something, I just like I like to get into it deep. Like I'm
Right.
not
It's a waste of time to kind of be into it, right? To kind of be
for
into
me,
something.
for me,
Right.
yeah, But I certainly, as I've gotten older, have come to like appreciate more. Like, yeah, just people don't give a fuck about this shit like I do, and that's totally
Right.
fine. You know,
What about
some
other
people.
go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, some people listen to music just because it distracts them from whatever. It's
Right.
and they're not, and that's fine. Like it doesn't have to be so like you know all encompassing
Right.
like it is for me.
Right.
But
Like background
but
music.
when I was a kid, I was just like, young niggas don't know, just
We were all like that, bro. Like you
yeah,
whack, man.
I
For that
just look
shit.
back at that like this is ridiculous. Like
Like
people
you
just
listen to
like what
that.
they like they're probably into something that you would think is terribly ridiculous, and so whatever.
So other than like hip hop, like I've only known you really to be into hip hop per se, but were you into like punk, metal, anything like that other than that? Other than
So I mean I like punk music when I was younger. Because I ended up like I think like around the time you and I started hanging out a little less and stuff. I got into skateboarding when I was younger too, and so you meet those kids, and those kids are into hip hop and punk and all sorts of stuff. So I certainly got into some other shit, you know what I mean? But hip hop's always been it for me. Like that was kind of it's certainly the genesis for everything else, like from like a music standpoint of what I want to get into, and like yeah, I still like punk, but I don't run around playing punk rock anymore. Like
right,
I probably listen to more jazz than I do hip hop nowadays.
right, right,
It's just it, I think about like what I was into when I was a super music guy, like as a young kid, and now like some of the things I listen to, and I'm just like, man, the 17-year-old me would fucking think I'm crazy for listening to this now. You know, I just listen to such different things now. You know what I mean?
Right. Your tastes have changed. That's what
But that
happens.
shit, but for me, it's why I love music because it's never ending. Like
Right.
I'm never gonna hit a point where I'm like, yeah, I listen to it all.
I
You know what I
got you.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
is always something new and interesting, for me to get into.
Speaking of skateboarding, right? Remember there was like an Albertsons and then there was Specs Music Store.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and then in there was like also like a newspaper place that I think a friend of yours used to own. It was kind of like a newspaper place. You could buy candy. There was comic books. They had a little section where they sold sports cards. But anyway, the reason why I'm asking you that is because there used to be this kid that I think you know used to skate, always wore the fucking Green Day Dookie shirt.
Wow, I don't know. I mean, yo, we all skated at that Albertsons. We used to get run
Yeah,
out. We used to get run
he,
out of there all the time, and that was the specs that I went to get all my tapes. Damn near,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
me
For
too,
sure.
man.
So
Me too.
I put in enough work at that shopping plaza. I know that.
Yeah,
But
that kid used to be
I
there
don't
all the
remember
time.
specifically what kid you're talking about. You know, I mean, I would run around skating around town with my boy Brian Heater, he lives in Orlando still. And then our friend Denny, he skated with us. Um, but yeah, I mean, that was just, Kissimmee's a small place, dude. So like,
Right, it's a small
once
world.
once you get into like, a clique of people that are into whatever it is that you're into, you kind of like all become part of that same
Yeah, I
circle.
remember he always wore the white Green Day Dookie shirt, and he had half his head shaved, and he was a little small, little runt, man. And he used to
Huh.
hang out with all y'all all the time,
Sure.
skating over there.
Yeah, yeah. We used to skate like crazy, bro. Shit was dope. I have fond memories of all that stuff. Yeah, man. It was a good time.
Right.
But
All right,
Specs
so
was dope.
Specs was the only place, bro. I used to get imports from Specs. I used to order imports from them.
Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Tuesdays, dog. Every Tuesday up in there buying whatever I could.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
So Hover Rock. So you're in South Florida, 2001.
Yep.
You're working. How do you get into Hover Rock? So like, are you mixing in with the local underground scene there? Like, what is the scene like? The culture like in South Florida when you initially moved there?
So yeah, I guess that's kind of how it started, right? Like I moved down here. I don't know anyone. And it's honestly the first time where I've gone somewhere where I didn't know anyone because like even when I went away to college, like I just moved into a house full of my homies from Kissimmee. And so I didn't really make a lot of friends when I was in college because I had a whole crew already, you know what I mean? And we
Right.
just stuck together. I met a few people here and there, but I didn't have to like immerse myself in anything there. So when I moved down here, I had one childhood friend that was going to medical school at UM, but obviously he's in medical school. He's super busy.
Right.
And so, yeah, I remember like, back in those days, message boards were a big thing. I used to be on the Def Jokes board a lot.
Oh shit.
And and then I remember somebody posting some shit about yo, we're gonna be having some ciphers down at this damn, what did they call it? I think it was called the Dollar Jam, where they would have like these like b-boy meetups, and you would pay $1 and you'd get into like this like civic center. It was one on South Beach, so I went from Fort Lauderdale down to South Beach, and I linked up with my boy Shogun. Well, that's what he went by at the time. Eventually, he became PFM. Um, and yeah, so I met him, met a couple other people, and kind of yeah, like, and then you would like hear about a show. Like Miami did have a pretty like Miami Fort Lauderdale surprisingly had a pretty dope local hip hop scene already. So it wasn't hard to find like you know places that would play independent rap or the kind of shit that we were into. So even before getting to South Florida, like I went to school with these kids up in Gainesville that sign. I'm sure you're probably aware of them. CYNE.
Yeah.
So those cats were in Gainesville at the time. One of the producers worked in the record store, who now I think he owns a record store like out in Portland or some shit. And then the two MCs were there, and then I think the other guy, Enoch, the other producer, he's like originally from Gainesville, and they were making music. I only bring them up not only because they're dope and good dudes, but they were also making music with some of these Miami guys like Maneuvers, and um, there was like a crew of cats, Botanica del Jíbaro, and
Yeah, that's where Sign is kind of linked to them, right?
so they
Sign,
put out some records, like some of their first stuff through them.
right?
Um,
Seven, right? Isn't there a dude named
there was
Seven?
Seven Star.
Yeah, Seven Star. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, so Seven Star was down in that scene. There was like Maneuvers, there was Cat Induce, there was another
Algorithm wasn't that?
Algorithm,
Right.
yeah, who uh Plex from Algorithm ended
Yep.
up, he's in Mayday, who like is on, or I don't know if they still are, but at one point they were on what's a Tech Nine's label, like they made some noise. So there was a good, and that was like the Miami scene. And then in Fort Lauderdale, I hooked up with a homeboy of mine named Jasper. He had a group called the Secondhand Outfit. Um, and then there was a whole bustling scene in Fort Lauderdale. And so, it was pretty easy to like really get involved in the fact that I was a DJ. They were like, "Oh shit, you're a DJ, yo, like you want to come DJ a show?"
Right.
Whatever. It was pretty easy to get involved in that scene. So I mean, through that, met a bunch of really good people. A lot of people I still speak with to this day. And the guy Shogun that I mentioned originally, like him and I, we just hit it off. Cool cat, Cuban guy, super Miami. Still my homie. And we ended up forming a small crew, and he's a really good rapper, and we were making music, and then it was originally Shogun's idea to put together Hub Rock. So Hub Rock was just like the name of the crew, which was just another way of saying like elevated music.
Right.
And then he ended up having the idea to try to start like an indie label. Like that was around the time where a lot of things were getting released independently and trying to hustle your own stuff. And so originally the three cats that were involved as with running the label were PFM Shogun, uh, another homie TSE from Boston area, and then JES the Universal, which I think he was living like in,
Texas.
well, I know he was in Texas, but then I know homie like went out to Europe for a while or something.
Yeah. There's some contract work out. He's doing contract work out there.
Yeah. So shout out to those brothers. But I think like it became difficult because everybody was so like sprawled out. And
Right.
and it was also around the same time where like, everybody's in like their early 20s, motherfuckers are getting wifed up, people are starting to have kids, things are happening on in your personal life. And so it's difficult to like really give that the attention it needed.
Kind of like us.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So then I think so then JES kind of said, nah, he ended up doing his own thing, and then I kind of took his spot. So then it was me, I call him Show, PFM, and TSC, and then eventually TSC ended up getting wifed up, had a kid. He moved out to Cali. He was kind of like, yo, I'm done with this,
Right.
And so then it became, me and PFM. And then it was a whole crew of people, and it wasn't just only local, right? So like TSC was from Boston, JES was Texas / Europe, wherever he was. Who else? So then there was another group, BDS, which was Orion Pax and Iron Aura,
Dope.
who were from South Florida, but like Palm Beach area, Boca, hard hitting Boca raps. No, really talented dudes. And
Yeah.
and then God, yo, my memory is so bad, dude. I feel bad.
No, because you had connections with like K the I, like you had a connection with that whole
Right. So
Boston.
so like then there was that group, right? So like K the I was connected with like Commodus and KO Flux and these
Yep.
guys. KO Flux's younger brother, which I'm just like completely drawing a blank on his name. He was down with the crew.
Was it Butterfly Swift?
Nah, dude. I don't remember. I don't remember.
It's all right, bro. This is you're talking about 2001 to the early
Yeah, yeah,
2000s.
yeah, yeah. My apologies because it's terrible, but yeah. So it was him, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some people. But those like locally, it was definitely me, uh, PFM, Iron Ore, Orion Pax, and then my boy Lumen was down.
Right.
Um,
Okay, so I don't know if you remember this. Can you see it?
yeah, no, what the hell is that?
This is a hover rock music, and this is a mixture, right? So it's got BDS on it, right?
Okay.
It's got TSC, right? It's got K the I, got Vile. Vile's dope.
Oh, wow, super
Um,
dope. Yeah, for sure.
it got Cougar Inkswell, a UK dude. I don't know
No,
if you know
so
who that is.
yeah,
Mo-
yeah. So he's on the first Hover Rock release too. I
yeah,
thought he was from Australia.
it says out of the UK.
Okay, that's how much I was paying attention to my own shit.
It's got the Molecule. I don't know if you
Word.
know who that is, and then it's got
No,
Quest the Unborn Child, my dude.
no doubt.
It's
From
got
Miami.
Iron Aura.
Take Seven was the guy's name.
Take
That's Tail.
Seven. That's it. Yep.
That's Tail Flux's younger brother.
Right. Take Seven. He's dope. He's dope. And
Yeah,
then
so I think it covers everything. And Vile is also on the first album.
right, right. I don't know. Do you have like a regular mic?
No, why?
It's every once in a while it's muffling. I don't know. I don't know
Oh,
if
it's
it's
probably because I'm moving around. Is that all right?
no, no. You're good. I thought it was on my end. I was like, damn, my mic's already fucking up.
Oh, no, 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 no. It's me, bro.
So take seven. Okay, and so like you had this Boston connection. You also had a connection with whatever Jess was bringing to the table from whatever Texas and whatever he was doing
Yeah.
overseas.
So anyway, so yeah, like we had this whole like it was a lot of talent, like a lot of good stuff. So that was the first thing. The label had already been formed, and so that we put out a project called, which is a fucking ridiculous thing to think about back now, but like the first thing that we put out as a label was a compilation of a bunch of people that no one knows. Boom, Kite Crucifix Beyond.
Yep.
And and shout out to my boy Liam O'Brien from Kissimmee. You went to school with him.
Yeah.
He did the artwork for that shit.
No fucking way. This is dope, dude. I
Yeah,
was
he
always
drew all
wondering who
that.
did the artwork.
Yeah, that's Liam, man.
He created the logo too.
No, the logo was created by I don't know exactly who came up with it, but I know it was done like when they first put the label together.
Right. Yeah, the cover's dope, man.
Yeah,
Liam, man. Shit, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Now check
yeah,
this
yeah.
out. So I had just got out of the military in 2002, right? So I was stationed out in Nellis in Vegas. So I moved from Vegas back to Florida, and I'm still writing for Insomniac at the time. So I'm contacting because when we were coming up, there wasn't any local groups that we knew about from Central Florida. Like Soliloquist of Sound didn't really start until
No, that's way
probably
later.
yeah, way later. And then I don't know if you know who X144 is.
Mhm.
Right, X. He had a group called the NITE, Never Intimidate the Extremes. They didn't start until like right before I left. So I remember hearing NITE in '97, and I left in '98 to join the military. So this is like we had no groups in our circle that were doing anything. We were the group, right?
Right, right.
So um so when I came back, I was like, okay, I want to connect with local groups. So I connected with X and Swanberger and their crew. And then I started to go down south more, and I started to because okay, do you know what this is? You ever see that?
Sleeve Stack.
Yes.
I've heard of it.
Okay. This is literally the official first non-Miami based rap group,
Okay,
right? That came out in '96.
okay.
So I remember having this and saying, "Oh man, I wonder if there's like a scene out there in Miami." And I wound up looking up Miami acts, and I found Soul What, right, which is Parable's group. I don't know if you know Parable.
Yeah.
And I wound up reaching out to him, and I wound up reaching out to a lot of like artists up there, and they would send me stuff, and I was doing reviews. And then I found, I don't know if I found Paramount first or Hover Rock, but one of them led me to the Hover Rock page, and I saw this picture of this person's face, and I'm like, I know that I know that nose. I was like, I know that nose, man. That's Los, man. And it just said KEMS on it, whatever. And then I reached out, and that's how I reconnected with you, man.
That's hilarious.
It is hilarious, man, but it's fucking synchronicity, right? Because I was thinking at that time I wasn't gonna write for Insomniac anymore because really wasn't into it as much, and I wound up dragging it out like maybe 10 more years. But I was gonna stop, and I didn't, and I wound up reconnecting with you. You know what I'm saying? Through it.
Word.
So yeah, I just want to tell you that story, man.
No, that shit is dope, man. That's super dope. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not familiar with it because I wasn't here, but I know Miami has a rich history, dude. You know, like tons of stuff. Like, my boy Ralph, he owns a record store down here in Miami, and where we do the podcast from live. I'm sure we'll get to that later, but and so he always has stuff walking in, people selling him records or tapes, and he'll get like crazy old, like local rap tapes and stuff. It's super cool to see all that shit.
Oh, really? So they still exist, those things?
Yeah, dude. Like I know he found one that he's been like after forever, some group called Last Straws, something like that.
Really?
Yeah,
And it's spelled Strawze, right? Something like that.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
had to be something ridiculous.
You know what I have? I have this one group. They released an EP from Miami. They're called Foul Nephilim. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Dude, I mean, like extremely rare. I go to Quest House, and I've heard about them before. Like I saw them on I guess the artist who created the artwork was on DeviantArt because I have stuff on DeviantArt, and I wound up seeing the cover, and I was like, oh, that looks dope. He wound up having it, and he gave it to me. So I have
Word.
one of those things where it's like probably nobody even really knows this group exists, but it's pretty
Yeah,
dope, man. It's dope shit.
that's cool.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't even know what I was saying, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah.
No,
So
we were
we
talking
talked
about like
about.
just the scene, right? And then we were talking about we passed the first this Paramanu's hover rock mix, and then we got into the kite crucifix beyond. So we were talking about that. Like, how did that come together? How did you guys put all that together?
So yeah, I mean, it was basically just soliciting, like PFM came up with the idea, like, hey, let's kind of do an introduction to the crew via a compilation, and just started soliciting material from everybody, and kind of just going through it and picking the best shit at the time, and the sound that everybody was on at the time was, it makes complete sense that we met through a Def Jux board. It was very much along those
Right,
lines, you know what I mean?
right.
And even things, when we would get, write ups or reviews about stuff that we would put out, there was always those comparisons.
Comparisons, right?
Yeah, which is crazy because that's the music like that we all loved and looked up to and shit. So yeah, we just solicited all the material and picked out however many 17, I forget how many actual tracks are on there, and try to at least give every person shine on it, and that was kind of the first thing. But it was also like a weird time because that came out when everything was in flux, streaming and the whole download thing, and
Right.
was like the way that people consume music. And so it's like, how the hell do you sell physical media? CD, we didn't have enough money to put together vinyl, so we pressed up a ton of CDs. Well, I mean, not even a ton, but we pressed up CDs, and it's like it became challenging to, like, how do you sell this? And I mean, it did okay. I mean, for what it was, but it was an interesting learning experience for sure because it was very much in like the a flux and and a and a learning experience of like what should we be doing, because this is really all the first time we're doing this. Like, and being involved in this for so long now, the adage, but it's like artists are really good at making art, not so much at selling it, or the commerce side of it, which is
Right.
super important if you want to
Well,
get.
that's why that phrase "starving artist" is so like prevalent, because artists are really good at knowing what they want to create, and they create what they do. Like they manifest whatever it is that they have on their mind. They don't have the skills of how to push that to make money off of that, to make it
Right.
like, you know, to get something out of it financially out of it. Usually,
Yeah,
we're not
yeah,
good at
yeah.
that.
Because it's a different skill set, and you know, certain people are lucky enough to have all of that in one. But you quickly learn a lesson that like shit, man, we need to like learn a lot on that side of it, because to this day I'm still like super proud of all of that music that we ended up putting out through the
Yeah,
label.
it's great music.
I
And
think
I
like
don't mean to
everybody
cut you
was,
off, dude, but
yeah,
that whole thing about you being compared to Def Jux, which, yeah, there's similarities to Def Jux, but as much as I love LP, he wasn't the first really person to kind of have a style like that. I mean, I remember reviewing in 95, 96 Atmosphere from the Rhyme Sayers camp. Those Rhyme Sayers, dude, were doing beats like that. And I mean, and all of that sort of style, that industrial sort of like avant-garde like beat making style, really comes from the Bomb Squad. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
um
But I
you
mean,
know
I think the comparisons come from, I don't think anybody was saying that Def Jux or LP or any of them compared it, but they certainly were like the zenith of all of that. They,
right.
in my mind, they did that shit the best. Like, I think it's fucking amazing how successful that guy is now. Like
Yeah, he deserves it.
that shit is the coolest shit in the world to me, and like, so, any sort of comparison to that, that's fucking great in my book,
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's get into like after this EP, not this EP, but the compilation gets released. What was the plan next? Like, what was gonna be? Were you gonna continue to do compilations, you guys, or were you gonna release artists from your camp?
Yeah, so that was honestly the plan, was like, okay, now we should start doing, actual projects from specific artists, right? But then it just everything became a clusterfuck, dude. People started having kids. I fucking drank too much in my 20s and 30s. Um, we can get into that. Like, I developed a real problem with all that stuff, and so it was hard to like be fully functioning when you're focused on partying and being in the scene, but not necessarily like fully putting everything you have into like the creative and business side of what you're trying to do.
Right.
Once we got our foot in the door, like, it was easy to get on shows. It was easy to do stuff, and you know, not to say that we didn't continue to put out we had a few more releases and they were dope, like PFM put out a thing with another Boston cat, DJ Manipulator, called Kill Ugly Remix, which were just like DJ Manipulator remix joints of there you go, promo, and they had like a small tour off of that, and that shit was, again, super well received. Manipulators are, another, those two together, really talented cats. Like, I know Manipulator has beats like on the new AG record, and so he's doing his thing. Um, and then there was a plan to put out a PFM solo record, but for all of his gifts, focus is not one with my boy. And so it just never came to fruition. I mean, he would just churn out so much material, but it was difficult to like harness all of that creative energy into like, yo, like, let's make one project. You know what I mean?
Right.
he's just so creative that it's difficult. It was difficult, and I didn't know how to do it. So probably my fault more than anything else. But then PFM actually did do um, the PFM and Iron Ore Pomegranate Sunset
Great,
record,
great album.
which is super dope. And I guess I'd like to come back to that. Then we also linked up through my homegirl Alba with Just One Art from Adam's Family.
Right.
Speaking of like company flow and that whole camp, and we put out, unfortunately, digitally only, and now really we were trying to get behind that, but that's it. I always felt bad about it because Just is a really dope dude, and also talented and creative guy, and we put out a record digitally called Dark City of his, where it's him on production, him on emceeing duties, and it was conceptual and really well thought out and really good record. But it was also at the time where, like, again, like everything is kind of falling apart around us, and so I didn't put the energy that project deserved, dude. And I mean, I it's still out there on Bandcamp. You guys can check it out. Like, look it up, man. It's the name of his group is called The Paradoxical State, and it's called Dark City. And that shit is worth your time. It's dope.
I have it.
And then and it was cool, kind of surreal to be working with somebody from Adam's Family, and but he's a really good guy, and he's a lawyer, in his day job. Super super cool cat. And then really the last thing we did was the PFM and Iron Ore's Pomegranate Sunset album, which was 2012.
Yeah, it's been a while,
2012,
man.
2013. It's been about
Yeah.
10 years. And that was super well received. I mean, we did so many shows around the state and probably even some outside the state. Um, People always dug that shit. The music on that project is high energy, and I would think also I think also because it was a good mixture of, like, PFM is like, he's artsy, he's abstract as an MC, super creative, and then Iron Ore is more on like some boom bap type shit, but like not so regressive. He's still putting new spins on things, and that was a really dope mixture of styles. Like that project is Iron Ore fully on production with help on a couple tracks. I think Manipulator did one joint, and then like our homie Sandor played like some live drums or maybe helped with drum programming on one of the tracks. But besides that, it was all Iron Ore, and then they were both MCing on the joint.
Right.
And it was super cohesive because of that, right? It was, like if you listen to Kite Crucifix, it's fucking all over the place. There's so many styles. One thing that it has in common throughout is that everything is super abstract and weird, which, is our bag.
Right.
But this one was like really focused, and I think like artistically, like we were figuring it out. We still didn't know what the hell to do from a business standpoint. But that record is dope, man. And we have a homeboy of ours, DJ Fisher, who used to run Domination Recordings.
I remember Domination Recordings.
And he did work with all sorts of people, and Count Bass D, MF Grimm. I think he did some stuff with Doom, and tons of other,
He's a white dude, right?
Yeah, white guy.
Yeah, I remember him.
He lived in Orlando for a while.
Yeah.
I think he's up in New York now, and he decided to start. He was in the biz for a minute, then due to some personal stuff, he stepped away for a bit, and now he has a label called Mad Good Records. And then he reached out and he's like, "Yo, I want to get back in the game. What do you guys think about, like, giving the PFM and Iron Ore project like a proper, like, physical release?" And so that's where we are now. Like, it's crazy that you asked me to podcast because usually I don't have shit to sell except for a handsome face.
Dude, I have to have your handsome face on my podcast, bro. Come on.
You know what I mean? But I guess like you can go on Instagram. It's at Mad Good Records, and we got cassettes and CDs right now, and and then I think the digital is. I mean, you can stream it anywhere right now. It's on all the Spotify's and Apple
I
Music.
have to buy it, bro, because I lost my copy. I was looking for it for this podcast, and I cannot find it. When you guys originally released it physically, it was a digipack, right?
That sounds about right, dude.
It because it wasn't like a regular like in a CD plastic case. It
like
was
a
like
jewel case. Yeah, it might have been. I honestly don't remember, dude. I don't even have one. But now it's nice, man. It did it, and kept the original artwork, and just kind of put like some real packaging behind it. So like, and the hope is, we can flip enough of these tapes and CDs, and then put out a proper vinyl release. Hopefully later this year.
that'll be dope.
Um, so yeah, man. Anybody who's interested, the music's out there. You can go on YouTube. You can find, just look up PFM and Iron Aura. You can listen to the whole thing on Bandcamp, PFM and Iron Aura. And then if you're interested in buying something, hit up Mad Good Records, man. It's good people. Um, and I think the project holds up, dude. 10 years later, like
Oh yeah,
having to listen to it, in preparation for like putting it back out and all that. I was surprised because a lot of times you go back and you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh shit, this ain't as good as it used to be, dog. But that shit's still heat.
Right. It is.
And even just telling people around, South Florida, like, yo, like, we're gonna, and people were hype, man, like it's a well regarded record from
It is. It's great. It's a
from
great album,
from
man. And
South
I
Florida.
remember the videos too. You guys did some dope videos for a lot of those
Yeah.
tracks, man.
Yeah,
Like
they did videos. My homie Pep did, who's from Kissimmee.
yeah,
He lives down here, and he did all the videos. Um, yeah, dude. So it's kind of a trip, It's like not that I don't still DJ, but I haven't DJed for like a rap group in a minute,
right.
and having that like part of my life come back has kind of been a trip because I'm just like, man, I thought this chapter in my life was kind of over, but my dog's trying to eat some food. She shouldn't be trying
It's
to.
all right. It's all right. So after Pomegranate Sunset, like I didn't hear nothing from the label. So I mean, it's up to you how far you want to get into that. But like, what happened? Like, it felt like the train stopped, and then there was nothing else coming
Yeah,
out.
so I mean, it really is. It really did happen, I guess, abruptly as that. Like, PFM had a kid and really needed to, start grinding to support his family. And Iron Aura wasn't far behind him with a kid. And then, I was just dealing with like my own demons, like I mentioned before. You know what I mean? Like I always liked to do drugs. They were always fun.
Right.
And I don't think that I necessarily had a drug problem, but I definitely developed a drinking problem. And it got really out of control. And so I had to like stop, dude. And I went I kind of had to like put everything, all the extracurricular shit that I had in my life, like kind of on hold because I needed to get my life in order, and
Right.
thankfully it didn't hit some kind of rock bottom where, like I got, was drunk, got a DUI, killed somebody, driving, like that. Uh,
You stopped the bleeding.
yeah, so yeah, but I mean, like I had to go to AA, I had to go to meetings, I had to like, it was like a real serious thing, dude. And I didn't like really go out socially for like almost 2 years. And so it's been a trip, but yeah, so like I haven't had a drink in like almost 10 years now, man.
That's good for you, brother.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
really need it. Honestly, you don't.
No, I had enough. I had enough. But it's been a super learning experience because like when you grow up, you know, using substances in that way, you don't realize that like you're not dealing with like your everyday emotions. And so like then you stop that completely and then all of this shit hits you at once and you're not as developed as a person of your age should be from like an emotional and mental standpoint because you just haven't developed those skills over time like everybody else in the normal life track did.
Right.
So
And plus you had just your mother there. You didn't have a father figure to really guide you and teach you the ways, like the right and wrong stuff. So like me, you had to learn by watching others and hope that you pick up the good shit, like the good
yeah,
lessons, you know what I mean?
yeah. So yeah, so I mean, these past 10 years have been it's been an experience, dude, for sure, man. Learning a lot about myself, but life is good.
I got
But
you,
that's
brother.
really what happened with from the label standpoint. Like, it wasn't just it. like at least for me, it wasn't just the label. Like I used to DJ in clubs and bars and whatever regularly while still holding down my regular engineering job. But like I had to, if I wanted to stop drinking, I had to stop all that shit. I couldn't, I mean, you're a DJ, you don't pay to drink. I was getting nice every night, you know what I mean, for
Right,
free.
right.
So like you have to cut that shit out. So like my life changed drastically at that period of time. So like yeah, once Pomegranate Sunset came out, that was kind of like the last thing the label did, just because everybody's life kind of exploded, for better or worse. And I think in the long run, it's all been for the better. But you know, cats were like, oh shit, I'm about to have a kid. Oh fuck, I got this problem I got to deal with. It was like real things coming
Yeah.
at you. It wasn't just like, my girlfriend wants to, do something silly and I have to save money. It's like
Yeah.
real life shit came at us and we had to make a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So so is it completely done or is it like on a hiatus, so to speak? Hover Rock.
I mean, my involvement, yeah. I mean, it's done. I know. PFM talks about wanting to release music, but I think he may end up doing that with DJ through Mad Good.
Right.
And I know that he's always kept the Hover Rock name alive, and I mean, I still rep that shit. Like, I mean, I got it tattooed on me, dog. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
I got you.
I'm still my crew.
Right.
But as far as like a label or trying to release music, like, not really. Like, that just is not
It's
what I'm.
dead. Yeah. It's not,
Yeah,
it's not.
it was just like I look back super fondly on that time, dude. Like, it was a great time in my life, and like made lifelong friends from that shit. Had awesome experiences, met a ton of cool people, and it did what it did. You know what I mean? And but I'm pulling up on 50, dog. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
I'm knocking on that door right now, bro.
yeah.
August,
I
bro. I'll
know
be
you
knocking on
must
the
be.
door.
I'm 45 now, dude.
I'm knocking on that door, bro.
But I just certainly like at this point in my life, I'm trying like like what good do regrets do you? You know what I mean? Like I don't regret any of that, the good or
Right.
the bad. You know what I mean? Like I certainly wish that we would have been more focused on certain things because we had an incredibly talented crew of cats and everybody was super creative and offered different things. So I think like commercially or whatever the word is, business wise, it probably could have done better if we focused more on that side of it. But we were also young kids running around like, crazy people and just all had a love for music and wanted to, rock shows and make dope shit. And like we certainly accomplished that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so like
Yeah.
I don't have I don't I just can't operate that way, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
it was done, it did what it did, it was dope. I'm confident in that. And yeah, vamos. You know what I mean?
So now you're on a new chapter, right? So what is Above the Clouds Radio and who's involved?
So I guess so I mentioned Lumen earlier.
Yes.
One of the homies that I met down here early on was Lumen, and I met him through PFM as well. So Lumen is a local DJ producer, made hip hop, but he was also into making electronic music, you know, gearhead, super into, uh, production equipment, all that sort of stuff. Him and I clicked up super quick after meeting. We became digging partners. We started getting heavy into record collecting, buying tons of collections. This is all before Discogs, before all you jackasses knew what was what. We was out here we was out here putting in work, dog. And so him and I started also DJing together. So we would DJ. I mean, I'm not gonna say all, but we would be DJing damn near all the you know local hip hop shit down here, or a lot of it. And so that was my DJ partner for years, even through the Hover Rock run. When we would play clubs and stuff, or have residencies in different places around this, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. Like, it was him and I. We did everything together. So about probably almost 7 years ago now, Lumen got approached. He certainly always was the more nice guy side of the duo.
Right.
He talked to people. He's not a fucking grump like me. So anyway, he got approached by like an online radio station that they were starting up when the whole like development of the Wynwood area in Miami was happening, and it was called wynwoodradio.com. And people were it was going to be one of those things where like people would pay for airtime, but the owners wanted to have at least a couple. I don't know how many people they did this with, but they did this with us, where people would like that would at least have some kind of name recognition that could garner some listenership to the radio station. And so we didn't pay. Like they asked us to be on the station, and we started this. The idea was like, you know, we got these crazy record collections. We're into so much more than just hip hop and, you know, funk and soul and stuff that you can actually play when you go out to DJ. We're into really weird shit, you know, like we both really love free jazz and we both love experimental music and all these other things. And so the thought was, yo, let's start a show. We'll call it Above the Clouds because we're gonna go up there. We're gonna take you out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's gonna be an all vinyl show. They ain't coming with no Serato. If we don't own it, we don't play it. And you know, it wasn't a mix show. And we made that clear from the jump. It was more about coming, you know, being able to just spread all sorts of different kinds of music and have it be really free form and not necessarily focus on just obscure stuff. Like I'll play a Jay-Z song and then I'll play a fucking super rare jazz record. You know what I mean? Like right after it. It's all about like if it's good music is good music. And it's really like trying to cater to that sort of crowd, like people that are into everything, people that are open, you know. If you just want to hear dance music, this ain't it. We'll play some dance music, but you're also going to hear some weird African shit or some,
Right.
you know, whatever. Like
So
it's
you'll
everything.
dance for 5 minutes, but then you'll have to
Yeah,
stop.
yeah, exactly. And so it was really that. And so Lumen and I did. It's a weekly show, so we do it every Saturday. And the time slot's been always on Saturday. I don't remember what we first started at, but now it's Saturdays from 3 to 5. And it was a weekly show. He did 100 episodes, or we did 100 episodes together. And then he was like, yo, you know, he kind of started getting his DJ, you know, he's a full-time DJ is what he does for a living. He
Right.
was DJing at a lot of spots and he could be making money if he was, you know, doing that on the weekend. And I was like, dog, I'm chilling. You know, I got a 9 to 5. For me, this is really a labor of love. And I love being able to talk music and just play music. And if anyone's interested, like that's just the cherry on top. Right. So
Right.
I just kept on doing the show by myself. Eventually, like not long after that 100th episode, I made the decision to just like, I'm like, yo, the internet is the internet, dog. Like I don't need I don't have to go to this place physically to broadcast from their studio. I
Right.
could do the same thing from my crib. You know what I mean? The only thing I would have to do is then set up a website and, you know, put a little bit of money behind it, but it really isn't much. And start doing that. So I started doing the show um, from the crib. Then COVID hit, you know. So then it was like, oh shit, you know, what do we do? So I start, you know, and I may be fucking up the timeline a little bit, but at the same time, like my homie Ralph, who I mentioned earlier, he owns a store in Miami called Found Sound Records, which is obviously I'm biased, he's my homeboy, but it's the best record store down in South Florida. Dude just is a music head
Right.
and knows a ton about records, and he's not, you know, he's got a store that like is for the niche, you know, collector looking for more, you know, different oddball.
Obscure shit. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, you know, it's just interesting. It has things that you don't see in most other stores, you know, like he puts in that work. So I was like, yo, like, you know, you're opening this store. Oh, so this actually happened right before COVID. I knew I was fucking the timeline up.
It's all right, bro.
So he got the idea to open the store before COVID, and then we was like, well, yo, like let's just do the show live from your spot every Saturday. And it's kind of, I mean, it's created a small community. There's people who come to the store, they hang out. A lot of times it's young kids, which is super interesting to me. Dudes that are getting into beat making, because we play a lot of stuff that, certainly people could sample. So little beat heads come in, other record dudes come through and hang out every once in a while. So it's building up like a small, community that way. But then COVID
Right.
hit. I had to do it from the crib for a while. And now these past couple of years, since everything freed up, and Florida was kind of the wild, wild west during COVID anyway. We weren't on lockdown too long.
Right.
We once we were able to get back in the store, we were back in the store, and so yeah, it's for me, it's like my creative outlet right now. It's super fun. I still buy tons of records, whether it's from Ralph directly in the store or just wherever I can get them.
Right.
And yeah, man, I look forward to it every Saturday. It's a blast, dude. People come through, we hang out, and it's become what it is now. Is it's abovethecloudsradio.com. And what I'm trying to make it into, although I'm again not the best at the business side of things, is trying to make it into like a radio station, right? So like our homegirl Christina, she's got a program that she does on the show. She's done about like 7 episodes now. I mean, Above the Clouds, I think we just did episode 326 or some
Wow,
shit.
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, bro, it's crazy to think about. But like, so Christina has her program where she gets other local cats to come and play, and everything is all vinyl on the station. She does that, I think monthly on a Friday, from like 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then we got my homie Robbie, who's got another joint called the Stone Garden, where he plays just like really like like psyched out, just super stoner music, and it's dope, real dope. Dude has a really really good ear for music, and they do that from the shop as well. So Ralph plays with him a lot as well. He does that monthly on Wednesday afternoons, uh, and so we're trying to like build up a roster of cats who want to like put shows up. And then because Above the Clouds has such like a long history of like backlog of shows that we've already recorded, I have the archive of everything we've ever done. I've put that up on a online server, and when we're not on live, it's just randomly playing shows from like the past 6 and
Oh,
7
so
years.
it loops the older shows, so you
Yeah, and
constantly
it's
have
all
something
random,
going.
and it's all
Yeah.
random. So it's always something popping, and so like it's interesting. Like I like to throw it on in the morning when I get in the shower, and my wife hates it because she never knows what the hell's gonna come on. It might be some crazy Sun Ra record, or it might be
Right.
something peppy to get your morning going.
Right.
You
Right.
don't know what you're gonna
You don't know what you're gonna get, bro.
get. so so that's the goal. But we're trying to focus this year on like really like the website certainly needs to like get redone. It's an old website. I'm using like an old technology to like do the streaming. So like some browsers are not like fully compatible with it right
Yeah,
now.
Chrome sucks for certain things, man, you know?
Yeah, so Chrome is one of them for sure. But I know like the longer I wait to redo the site, like it's happening on more stuff. So so that's the focus, and then just like trying to get the word out, like and simple shit, getting stickers made, getting like whatever things like that. And then we also have like a monthly, bi-monthly DJ gig that Ralph and I do at this place in Miami called
Right.
Dante's Hi-Fi, uh, where it's like promoting the shop and also promoting the radio show, and it's just us playing wild ass out there shit, like something interesting, different, like Dante's is a dope place. It's like it's run by Rich Medina, who's the homie. Shout out Rich Medina. Um, but they've curated it into like a Japanese style vinyl listening bar.
Right.
But because it's Miami, it has more of a club flair to it, It's not just people sitting drinking fancy cocktails. And so the way that the night goes is from 7 p.m. to like 10 p.m. is what's called the listening session. And there, like, You're not really trying to rock the party. You're just playing records. You can get on the mic. You can be like, yo, say something interesting about a record or whatever.
That's dope.
But you're just able to play whatever. You can play really out there stuff. And then as the night progresses, people start getting a little bit loose. They get some drink in them, whatever.
Right.
You kind of start picking up the tempo and then play some more stuff. But even still, like we try to keep it like you know somewhat original, play stuff that like you wouldn't hear on most other nights there. You know what I mean? And thankfully, like our record collections can allow us to do that. So it's dope, man. I mean, so that's like really like from a creative standpoint, the big thing I do now is like Above the Clouds, and then a little DJ gig here and there. But
Right.
I couldn't be handling staying up that late, dog. That shit is for the birds.
Once you hit a certain age, you don't want to do it no more, dude.
And it ain't my job. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if I needed that bread, then okay. But like I'll take your money and I'll buy records with it. But I got a job, dude. Like I don't need that shit.
Right. Right.
So I ain't trying to stay up till 4 a.m. Like, no, bro, this shit is brutal.
It is brutal. Yeah. So how or what methods do you use to select like records? Like, is there a certain thing you're looking for, or is it more of like, yo, that album cover looks dope. It looks interesting. Let me peep it.
Well, I mean, it's really all of that, dude.
Right.
Like, the more you get into records, the more you get into liner notes, seeing who's in the band, who played on it, who did what, you know what I mean? But like, there's also records where you ain't gonna know anything about it, and you're just like, oh, this shit looks kind of ill, and if you can scoop it on the cheap, then you buy it. And I mean that's really where the internet has become like a really great resource, because a lot of times you can throw it up on YouTube and just listen to it in the store on your phone and be like, or oh shit, this is kind of dope. Like I'm interested
Right.
in this, buy it that way. But when I first started, dog, I was pretty much buying anything with if a dude had an afro, like
Yeah.
just
He had
looking,
soul. He had soul. He had
yeah.
soul.
Oh, this shit is funky right here. I'll feel it. You know, and then you get a little more into it. You're like, oh, these labels make this kind of music, so you start
Right.
buying. You try to buy everything on that label, or
Right.
I
Like
like
stacks.
this. Or I like this producer. Try to find everything Homeboy works on, or you know. So that's kind of where I'm at now. But like now, it's a lot less about uh trying to buy everything. It's like I'm way more like quality over quantity.
Right. You're
When like
selective,
when I
very selective.
when I first started digging, I was just like, oh, I want everything, cause like I'm buying everything, buying all that shit. Like now I'm just like, I don't even want these records in my house, dog. Like like it's
How
too
many? How many
much.
do you have?
I don't know. I've never counted.
Thousands?
Yeah, for sure. 7,000 maybe.
Man, that's a lot, bro.
No, it's too much. It's too much, dude. Like I'm in the process now where like I'm getting rid of records, dude. Like I wanna slim down to where it's just like this is pure heat.
Right. You want a solid collection.
Like I'm no longer interested. Like it has to be something really special to me for it to for me to want to keep like a record that only has one good song. And there's so many of those, dude.
Right. Because it had sentimental value, right?
Or it's just a fucking banger. You know what I
Right.
mean? But like I'm just like, dog, you're taking up space for that one song, dog. Like, like, and I think as I get older, I have less attachment to these things, and I'm more of the mindset of like, yo, I've had it. Like, I've had my time with it. Like, I get this bread, I get something new in that I can enjoy instead of this record that I've enjoyed previously, and now it's just sitting here. You know what I mean? I, I'm in no race with nobody. Like you can have more records than me. That's fine, dude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Doesn't mean
But I,
shit.
but at one point it was like, oh yeah, look how many I got, dog. Like now it's like I don't care, dude.
Right.
Like I just want things that I will enjoy, and like once my time has like run with them, set them free, dog. And yo, it makes it easy nowadays because there's so much interest in vinyl, and the value of these things is crazy. So I'm just like, you're willing to pay me how much for this record? Hell yeah, dog. You can get this shit. I paid 50 cents for this joint. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to give me 1,000? Go ahead. All right. Cool.
Yeah, dude. Like for sure, bro. because that's not like there are a few records that I will always keep that are super expensive, but yo, honestly, dog, the stuff that I will keep, no one cares, and there's no like market value for them. You know, it's just like how you were saying. It's just like I love this record, and I'm always gonna love it, and I'm always, I always want to have it here so I can play it. But then there's other records that I'm like, I like this song, but man, I could let it go.
Right.
I'll let that birdie fly. It's good,
All right, my man. So what's next for KEMS and Above the Clouds Radio? You got any projects that you're going to be working on or anything you're thinking about working on?
So the big thing we're doing this year is like, I mean, certainly I want to revamp the site. I want to get like more, merch marketing material, if you will, out there.
Now, if you need help with that, let me know because
I might know a guy.
Yeah, you might know a guy.
I should have worn my Arise Creations hat.
No, it's all good, bro. I'm not worried about that. But like, if you need help, I can help you out with that. So let me know.
No doubt. Appreciate you. But also like trying to at least for and I know it's confusing, right? Because it's Above the Clouds Radio,
right?
But then the show that I do is Above the Clouds as well. And now we have these other shows that we're adding on. So I've been thinking about like how to not confuse people with that. So I may end up maybe renaming the show or the station. I'm not necessarily sure. But trying to make it so it's a more presentable package for people. But then from just like the creative show side, like I don't know if we were recording or if I told you beforehand, but like I'm heavy into jazz right now. And my man Ralph that I do the show with, he's a wild jazz collector. So we're doing the first Saturday of every month, straight jazz, and it's some kind of theme to it. So like and we started that in January 2023. So we've done 2 of the jazz joints. The first one was like all free jazz. We'll do like an all Japanese jazz joint, pick certain labels, I mean, it's infinite, the different themes that you could do.
Right.
I want to be able to have like more themed shows, people seem to enjoy that from feedback I get, like whether it's, through the Instagram page.
Now, are you recording live where it's video and it's showing you put the records on there, or is it just okay? Because this is an idea that I have for you too that might help blow your shit up a little more. Create a YouTube channel and do it live there too, because you can do it simultaneously, your website and YouTube, and then have a chat room and then have people fucking donate, bro. I see podcasts where people have this button where people could donate $1, $10, whatever, and they chat in there. Yo, this jam is dope, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And you can do that simultaneous, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, dog. I know you're talking facts, as the kids say, facts. But like when I think I'm trying to figure out how to say that. When I think of doing that, dude, I'm like, who the fuck wants to see me put a record on a turntable? But
you don't even have to be like, what I mean live. You don't have to. You could do it the same way you're doing it now. You don't have to have a video on you. You can just have a picture of the logo and the music's playing live. Unless you do want to see show people,
Nah, because nah, niggas is out there smoking in the bag. You don't know what's going on, dog.
That's like, fine. They like all that shit too.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, yeah, it's funny. Like, again, I'm bad at the business thing, but yeah, like you're totally right. The other thing that does turn me off to that, and this is again just grumpy old man shit, is like I don't want to be monitoring a chat, nigga. I don't care what you got to say.
No, but it wouldn't be for you. It'd be more for like people just to kind of like, talk to each other, maybe, because really, like for instance, like
the Discord generation,
right? Because I watch a lot of podcasts, and like a lot of the hosts, they ignore that. They ignore the chat room. They let them talk or whatever, but they have a little button on it that says donate. And if people like your shit, that's what I'm saying, homie. If people like your shit, why not? Why not get like $100? For people donate because they like your shit, or they want you to play.
Dude. Strange world. I guess honestly, my mind doesn't like think on those like parameters. Like
my mind does, I just don't execute.
like like I know like the big thing is like how do I monetize this? And I'm just
Right.
like I'm out here kicking it with my homies playing records. Like
Right.
this shit's great. And then like I put it online and someone listens to it, phew, even better, you know? And you know, like the dope shit is too is like the website has all the playlists. Like I want people to be able to go there and then they're like, oh, this song is dope. And then go like investigate and find out more about that kind of music or that
Right.
artist. Like that's really what I want, dude. I don't
Right.
want your donations.
Right. I got you. I got you.
But I appreciate. Believe me, you ain't the
Yeah.
first person to tell me that, dog. They're like, what you doing? Cause you ain't taking advantage of your situation. I'm like, no, I'm good, dog. I'm good.
As long as you happy, bro, that's all that matters, man.
I just want to share music with people, man.
No
And
doubt.
honestly, like, I'm in a position, like, and this ain't no like brag. I'm in a position where like I'm financially, I'm great, dude.
Right.
Like I'm like my job is well paying and my house is paid for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
You're
I
good.
I've never owned a credit card, G, because I don't
Right.
need
Right. Good for you, man. Good for you.
it. Yeah, no, I'm thankful about that. It's not a brag, dog. It's just
Oh,
like,
it's
yo, coming
real.
from being poor ass little old me to this, dude, like that, this venture of Above the Clouds Radio, as stupid as it sounds, and people be like, yo, this nigga's bugging. Why is he even saying this shit? It's honestly just like, it's a creative outlet for me, and it's something to share like my passion with people. And, and like the payback for that is like, yo, good looking for putting me onto this, whatever, like African psych record. Dope. I love that. Like that's all I want, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or oh shit, I ain't heard, this Smith and Wesson shit since, 96 or whatever the year was.
Right, right,
Oh,
right.
my man.
Bucktown.
Yeah, whatever. Like that's what it's about to me, dude. At this point, dog, because like I at least for me, I've never been a person that's and I get I say this with all respect to people who struggle and live check to check, and they're trying to get money any way they can. You do that shit, like I understand that, but like once I got into a position where like I didn't have to worry about that anymore. Money never drove me, dude. Like I only did shit because I had a passion or a belief in what it was, whether it was the Hover Rock time, where like not only were they my homies, but like I believed in their talent, I believed in what they were doing and how dope everybody was, and I wanted to like help spread that word. That's honestly the same message that it is with Above the Clouds. It's just like I have this passion. I'm I'm a middle-aged dude who just loves music and probably knows way more than he should about these stupid, obscure things. But if this is something that interests you too, like there's knowledge being kicked on this bitch all day long.
Right. Get on board.
Yeah. So like, and not even from anything that we're saying. We're just putting jewels out there. Like it's heat, dog. Like I'm proud of this shit. And like honestly, like I can't think of many places where I can go online and hear that variety of music fucking anywhere. Like the shit is dope. And you know me, I ain't a bragging guy, but like our shit is fucking dope. And the production value may suck because we get on there and the mic's crazy loud and I'm fucking cursing and being a dickhead. But when it comes down to it, like ain't nobody playing the kind of music we're playing or doing what we're doing, dude. And I'm super proud of that shit. And that's one thing me and Ralph always talk about is like, yo, like we record on Saturdays, then his store is closed Sunday, Monday. He comes back on Tuesday. He puts on the show that we did on Saturday. I'm telling you, like damn near every week, the nigga hits me up. Yo, this shit is the shit. Like, our show is the shit, dog. Like, it's fire, dude. Like, if you're into music and you're open to everything, like, I can't recommend a better place, dude.
Word up.
There's a lot of dope places on the internet that play music, but I don't think anybody's playing this variety of shit. I'm
No
super
doubt, my
proud of
man.
it. Yeah, I'm super proud of it.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for doing this, man. I appreciate you. Uh Verbal Mechanics alumni. I want to give a shout out to my brother E. Want to give a
I
shout
wish
out
we
to
had
my
like a
dude
gang
Clark.
sign, cuz I'll be throwing that
Yeah.
shit.
Give a shout out to Dewey. You know what I'm saying? The whole
Shout out to
Caribbean
everybody,
crew.
man.
Right.
Everybody. Yeah,
The
man,
whole
for sure.
crew.
And shout out to you, dog, man. It's fuck. I'm super glad we're still, somewhat in contact,
Yeah.
man. I consider you a super close friend, bro. Proud of the stuff you're doing, man. And
Thank you, my man.
I'm super honored that you found me half enough interesting to do a show with me,
Oh,
dude. But but
most people don't realize how interesting they really are. I used to be that way until I had to like smack myself and be like, I'm a pretty
nah,
interesting dude, you know?
nice,
So
nice.
maybe you have to slap yourself and realize you're an
That's what I'm gonna
interesting.
do. I'm about to close his laptop and smack the shit out of myself.
Listen, man, give love to your moms and your sister, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah, bro. Yeah, same to you
And
and
your
your
wife for
family.
letting me spend time with you, you know what I mean? So,
No doubt, bro.
um, let's stay in touch and let me know any other projects that pop off, okay?
Hell yeah, man. Will
All
do,
right.
bro. All right,
Much
man.
love, bro.
Love you, brother.
Peace out. Love you too, brother. Peace.
Peace.